Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another illustration masterclass. Today we're looking at the artist Joao Ruas, I believe is this artist's name. I apologize, I probably mispronounced that name. Uh, if you know anything about this artist, please feel free to drop something in the description box below or roast me for mispronouncing the name. But anyway, this artist I came across their work is amazing. Really beautiful, amazing work. And I wanted to just get on here and share it with you guys, share some of the things it is that I noticed about what this artist is doing, and yeah, just explore some elements of design. So the first thing it is that I noticed and what I really love about this is it's similar to last week's episode of Illustration Masterclass when I was looking at Dave McKean and the way it is that he incorporates like this very abstract way of drawing into his work. It has elements of, you could say, graphic design to it, right? And I think this artist is doing something that's very similar to that, right? And that's what drew me to this person's work. Um, so you have like for the first thing it is that I noticed is that there's these strong converging diagonal lines, and notice that they converge for both of them on the head, right? There's a convergence along the head, and notice that they're not lined up. This one is hanging to the left, this one is hanging more towards the right, but they're not completely in the center, right? Obviously, when we look at this just in terms of the dark shapes, we can see that this dark shape right here is completely surrounding the character underneath, right? And then you could say it goes down like this and then goes over here. And so it's kind of creating this really interesting dark shape back here. And there's not a lot of detail here. We do have these flowing lines that are moving up this way, right? That are creating this visual contrast and this visual interest in this black space. Because if it was completely black, it would just feel it would be very distracting because your eye would immediately go to the black shape, right? And the reason that would be is because we have the tendency to look to the point of contrast, right? So if we have the tendency to look for the point of contrast, we want to keep the contrast on our focal point. And obviously this big black shape back here is not our focal point. But the artist makes sure to contrast this big black shape here with different points of interest that are flowing up and that are they're really more coming from this corner, right? And we have some sort of a background that's kind of suggested back there. Then we look at the figure itself up here, and we can see that obviously the focal point is between these two characters, and there's different ways that our attention is drawn to her. For one, we have a very dynamic shadow going on here, right? Let's just notice the shadows here. If I cut them out, what's interesting is that we have a couple of different things going on here, right? We have on this side a very dark shadow that's pushing her out from the backdrop. Over here, we see it's the exact opposite. We have a very light shape here. This is all very light shape. And we see that the background is very dark, right here in this spot. And this keeps our eye from being confused as we move between these two spaces, because if all of this was the same value, it would just be kind of off-putting to the eye. The same thing goes for down here, right? So we kind of have this back and forth. We have dark, light, dark. You could say this is light, dark, light. So we have this kind of back and forth going on, and even here, right? So there's this kind of back and forth zigzag that we're going down through her body that is creating that visual interest, right? Because the way that we create visual interest on a specific focal point is to put all of the contrast and all of the design element decisions maybe not on that focal point, but you're kind of pointing them all in that direction. So we can also see that with all of the points of convergence, right? All of the ornate designs down here that seem kind of random. They seem kind of randomly put. Well, they're not random. They're all converging around her, right? Notice that. Even this is converging with her, right? So again, that goes back to you have these lines that are converging and that are subtly pointing towards the focal point. So let's go ahead. We spent enough time on that one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We might just breeze right through this artist's work because some of it is just what I really wanted to share was that the concepts and the ideas are really what it is that makes this artist's work so amazing, right? It's not always the technique. I mean, oftentimes it's not the technique, especially now with AI generated images and whatnot. But I mean, the concept here and the way it is that it's illustrated is just really beautiful. I love the way the eyes are. I love how they don't line up, but they're both tilted towards one another, right? Her head is tilted slightly to her left. The way that the lion's head is drawn is tilted slightly the other direction. This is some beautiful stuff. Yeah. Supremely beautiful work. All right, so sorry about that, guys. My computer kind of spazzed out on me for a moment, so I had to re-record this part. But we're actually just going to look at two more images for this, and then that'll be it. I'll include the links to this artist's work in the description box. But these next two illustrations are the other ones I wanted to really look at. Yeah, so I love how abstract this artist's work gets. Like there's this nice kind of flow that's happening over here. It's going in this kind of general direction. It kind of all seems to follow like these kind of smoky lines. And when I get in and I look at the detail here, you can see how there's this clear grouping between these light shapes that goes through here, right? So it's like you have this smoke effect that goes all over the head and the body, and it connects to this big white shape. But it connects all through here, all through here, right? That's the sort of stuff it is that I love. I really like the way it is that you can let forms go and connect them with these different shapes, but at the same time, you can still keep its actual identity of what it is that you're looking at. It's a really interesting way of dealing with edges, right? Because typically you have very hard edges. You have a hard edge like this right here on these different things here, and then you have a soft edge, which is basically the edge difference between this shade and this shade right here. And there's like this bridge between the two that's kind of smudged together. And this is like the extreme of taking away the edge completely, right? And melding these different things together. But I mean, as far as technique goes, it feels like a collage, right? Like there's these different contrasting elements. You have this element of this ornate element up here up top. And then that red and gold contrast, it contrasts against what looks like a black and white image, but it isn't, because subtly we can see in the white colors that there is some yellow, And there's also some muted reds in this as well. And we can see there's a train, so it looks like this is uh, obviously somebody losing it on acid while they're waiting for their train to arrive, and maybe they are tasting the ornate designs or something. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell, or maybe they're just turning into the train or something, right? But there's little elements of different things going on here that are repeating throughout. We see these circular shapes. We see these same circular shapes here, which kind of remind me of like little clocks and that sort of thing, right? Which obviously remind me of trains, right? So let's go ahead and let's look at this last image, and we'll go ahead and cut it here. Yeah, so like I said previously, it's what I really enjoy about this artist's work is the amount of ideas that are expressed here, and the way it is that it just feels like an automatic drawing that this artist is doing. You know, I'm sure there was some rough sketches that came before this. You know, maybe this idea popped into this artist's head, and then they sketched it real quick in a sketchbook. But you know, I get this feeling from the work that there's a lot of free form exploration in the stuff that they're doing, and I really appreciate that. I can really enjoy uh, what it is that this artist is doing, the way it is that they've broken open this head of this lion and revealed this lioness behind the head. It's almost like she's stuck in a tree trunk or something. Really amazing work. Anyway, like I said, in the description box below, there's a link to their work. If you'd like to see some of my process for how it is that I do my illustrations and that sort of thing, you can check out some of those videos here on my YouTube channel, as well as some of the other updates that are coming up. I've got updates that may have already aired on here for my comic, The Philip K. Dick Files. I'm going to be doing a bunch of podcasts specifically geared towards that as I work towards the fourth issue. The first three issues you can find in the description box below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching and take care.